Hello, everyone. Welcome to this week's episode of FireDEV, a fireside chat with people in the industry, people doing awesome and great things. Today, my guest is Ewa Mazur. How are you doing, Ewa?
Fine, thank you.
And I had your husband on the podcast a few weeks ago, Andre Mazur, and both of you run the js13kGames competition. For anyone that hasn't heard of the competition or listened to that episode, which was amazing, by the way, can you just tell the audience briefly what the competition is?
Yeah, the competition js13k Games is about preparing a really tiny game that will be fit in 13 kilobytes. And that's pretty it. That's the awesome part about the competition, and it's mostly run by my husband Andre Mazur, as you said, and I am the designer, and I'm also a person who sometimes takes part in the judgment part. Sometimes I'm the expert who gives the feedback to the participants, and also I'm the one who is preparing cool T-shirts every year that goes to top 100 participants.
So I have you to thank for the T-shirt because as one of the experts on the panels to judge the games, I received a T-shirt and a few. Did you design the other stuff as well? Like the patch, etc.
Yeah. All the graphics connected with the JS13k games is done by me. Yeah, that's pretty my job to cover all the design part and also give the feedback about the design in games that are submitted.
So do you have a background in design or in art or graphic design, for example, or is it just a hobby? Like what is your academic background?
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. I was studying the graphic design, and after I finished my study in Poland, I started to work as a graphic designer in some companies. Uh, for many years, I was working in Samsung, and I was also a graphic designer there, and I was preparing designs for games, and yeah, I'm pretty much connected with the uh, designing for games.
So at Samsung, was you doing design for games or was you doing design for something else?
Yeah, for in Samsung, I was doing the designs for games. That was simple games that we were preparing to show developers how they can you know uh, use the tools that we are preparing for them, how they can uh, sorry, how they can um, sorry, I don't know how to say it.
I guess you mean like how they can utilize them, how they can, actually leverage the tools, like examples effectively.
Yeah, exactly, that's that's what I mean. Yeah. Thank you very much. Yeah, so that was the deal there, and it was the really nice background to get the knowledge what's important in game design, because we were preparing many kinds of games. Uh, so in every kind of game, there are a lot of mm, elements that are common. and there are many game design patterns that are similar in many types of games.
So this, graphic design that you did at Samsung, is that when Samsung started doing Android phones, or is it pre-Android, the older phones that sometimes used to have preloaded games?
Yeah, that was in times when we were on Android. That was from 2013 till I think 2019. Um, Not all the time I was doing the game design. Sometimes I was moved to another teams, but I don't want to talk about that kind of specifics. But yeah, that was the time when we were doing games for Android.
Did Samsung ever publish any of those games, or were they purely as examples for the
I'm
developers?
pretty sure there were some part of games published on forums for developers, but I really don't know the access to that.
Yeah, it probably is developer, access.
Yes, exactly. That was the part that developers were responsible for, and I wasn't participating in that part.
So whilst you was doing that work, what sort of tools was you using? Was it like Photoshop, or was it something a bit different?
Yeah,
Was it
that
in-house?
I think my main tool was always Photoshop. I was trying other graphics tools, but Photoshop is the most powerful, and when you get it, it is really easy to do graphic designs for games in that program, especially you know this tool is developing also. It developing constantly, and that's important when you uh, developing your own designs, and the tool that you're using is developing also. That's pretty amazing.
So, as a graphic designer, have you worked on any personal projects, in terms of games?
Yeah, there is many of other um, projects that I'm into, especially personal. Um, it's really from my very beginnings in 2010. I was doing web designs, posters designs, T-shirts. Um, wow, I can't even remember. There was so many. I even, lately were doing uh, cups designs for my daughter's class. So there is so many of these kinds of designs that I'm doing, and I was doing before, that I can't even remember all of them.
Okay. And, you know, have you published any games or any of these, pieces of work?
Yeah, all games that we were doing with Andrzej are available on our website, enclavegames.com, and that's pretty much of that's what um, where you can find my game designs. Also, there was one game design, really small but really fun, that was doing using gdevelop. Um, it's there as a tutorial on gdevelop website. I pretty think there is still there. It was on some time ago. It's a geometry monster And yeah, that was the time that I could be, I could put myself in the game developer role. Because I prepared the game design, and then using gdevelop I was trying uh, to mm, code the game, to prepare the code. And with the gdevelop it's much easier than programming.
Oh yeah, I can imagine. So, as a graphic designer and having worked on several projects, what makes good, graphic design? Like, a good artwork, a good design in a game, and what makes bad, design?
um, I would say that the most important thing is consistency. Can you help me with pronunciation? Consistence? Yeah, am I?
Consistency, yes, yes,
Yes,
yes. So keeping
consistent.
it the same or similar,
Okay.
yes.
Yes, that's very important. So people can say that, yeah, this whole product is one game.
Hmm.
So the gameplay, the menus, all the elements are in the same style. Um, because sometimes when we can see on that little projects that developers are doing and don't know the rules, sometimes you can see how they use the main character graphics took from one source, and then buttons took taken from another kind of source, and they are not similar, they are in different style, and you can say that, oh, it's not consistent. And you can't feel the magic of that product. I think the magic is made by the one style in the one project.
Yeah, I know what you mean. As an indie developer myself, I understand exactly what you mean, especially when you're a programmer. You don't have access to an artist, or it's a bit difficult for whatever reason.
Exactly.
So you might just get one piece of art, you might get another piece of art, and individually they serve the purpose, but they don't have like a similar design philosophy or color scheme, and there can be a bit of a mismatch.
Exactly. And I also understand why why it's like this, because for developer it's important that game will work itself. Yeah, the code is working, so it's like putting the placeholders even. But for me as a graphic designer, if there is no that magic style in the whole product, then yeah, we're talking about putting placeholders, not the game design.
Yeah, but it's not just indie developers or smaller games. It even happens with larger projects. You would think there would be consistency with, like, one, when you have a large project where there's hundreds, maybe even thousands of people that work on it throughout its lifetime. There can definitely be inconsistency. I feel like that is just a huge task in itself to keep it consistent when you're at that at that size. The game that comes to mind is Medal of Honor from 2010, I believe. The single player used the Unreal Engine, whereas the multiplayer for the same game that was bundled in on the same disc on PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360 used their Frostbite engine. So they literally used two different engines, one for the single player, one for the multiplayer, and you could tell the difference. Like
Yeah,
the multiplayer felt more like Battlefield because Battlefield used the Frostbite engine, whereas the single player did not. And I mean, a lot of people liked the multiplayer, so it's not like that he wasn't liked, but there was clearly a divide, and I don't think that's the best experience
yeah.
for gamers and just keeping a quality product.
Yeah, it's like you're playing two different games, right?
It literally felt like that. Like I said, the multiplayer literally just felt like I was playing I'd say, a slightly different campaign of Battlefield. It was as if it was closer to having a DLC for Battlefield than it was a multiplayer from the damn Medal of Honor game. So yeah, having the two different. I mean, one of the reasons I can think is there was obviously in the early days of developing and pushing the Frostbite engine. I think they was experimenting, but the fact that they had two different engines,
Yeah,
uh, it just seemed weird. And even till this day, 14 years later, it's still something that when we talk about like a design mismatch and not being consistent, it comes to mind because there was
yeah,
clear. As soon as I played it, I was like, this doesn't feel the same. This feels weird. Like not weird, but because I played the single player first, all of it, then I had to go with the multiplayer. It did feel weird, not in a
yes.
bad way, but just like you said, not consistent. And then I googled it, and that's when I realized there's two different engines.
Yeah, that's very interesting. I didn't know about that. But yeah, it's like this. And sometimes when you talk about some projects, you have your expectations, yeah? That for example, that second part of the game will be in that kind of style. So if you're not keeping the style, uh, there is something that feels weird, yeah.
Oh yeah, 100%. If it's the same game, not having a similar style, obviously you gotta have some variety, otherwise it just feels repetitive. But if it just feels like it should be a totally different game, that's not good either. Sometimes too much variety is actually a bad thing, even though you might think as a developer you're giving a gamer or a user more value for their money. What you're giving them is the value that you're giving is just less per
Mhm.
level or per part of the game.
Yeah.
So, what examples would you use as good, games that are designed really well and why? And also games that are designed really badly and why?
I would not. I mean, oh, I don't want to talk about bad designs because I mean I don't want to give you particular examples because I'm not that kind of person who is talking. Oh, this is bad. This is not good. Um, because I think in many, even in those games that are not very good designed, you can actually try to find something that is valuable. So it's not only about the design. So if we talk about good designs, hmm. I wasn't prepared very good to that, but I would say, mm, um, do you know that game Mini Motor Waves? Oh, that was awesome game.
Is
That
that
was
on mobile?
it was yeah, I think it's mobile. I mean, I was playing on Apple Arcade in it.
Yeah, the
So
game. I have played that one briefly. I know the game and the type of game you mean as well. Yes.
yeah, so the design was so minimalistic, consistent for sure, and there was this mood. And I love the games that are, even if they don't have too many elements, you as a player you know exactly what to do. So that is the real minimalism. It's not, it's as many elements as you need and nothing that you can put. uh, add on it. So that kind of games are really good and well designed.
Yeah, it's definitely difficult to find that balance between giving more, whether it's more variety in the levels or characters or different options in the menu, for example. Because on the surface of it, if we just take customization in a game like options, and especially on mobile, it sounds good on the surface of it that you'll give more options that a user can actually toggle, that they can actually change. But if a user goes onto the settings and there's literally 1,000 different options, one, how do you know which ones are really the main important ones?
Yeah,
And
exactly.
two, nobody wants to go for them, so you need to figure out those select few, and then on top of that, figure out exactly where you should really put them, because sometimes the information or the options are important, but they're either repeated too many times in different places, or they're in the wrong place. It just feels like, why am I being told about this here? This should be somewhere else, or I'm being forced to, look at this, even though this should be an optional thing in the settings in the menu, for example. So yeah, having a figuring out which options, which design, which sort of elements one make it into the game, but also more importantly where they make it into the game as well. Sometimes you need to repeat it, but sometimes you don't, and figuring out that balance is
Yeah,
really key.
that's the really hard thing to do, and I think that it's very good when the game designer is a game player also, because it really helps. If you have fun from playing the game, then you will have fun from designing the game, and you will um, maybe not know right away where to put all the elements, but you will have this idea how not to ruin the fun from playing the game.
Yeah, I think a couple of ways, pieces of advice that I would give in terms of designing, especially figuring out what to put in there and where to put it, is one, look back at similar games that you've played, that you just really enjoyed. Don't even try and think
Exactly.
of it as games that you thought were well designed, because sometimes it's hard to identify those. Think of it as the ones that you really enjoy playing, because if you really enjoy playing it, chances are it's probably well designed, and that you just found it seamless. You was, the least amount of pain, getting into the game, navigating the game, and then, have a look at that and see what options they have. And then on top of that, once you put the options in your game, it's always good to play it and test it on top of developing and designing. As you're playing it, and you'll probably be playing it multiple times, you know be conscious about what aspects of the game you're actually interacting with. If you've got a option on the home screen that you literally never use, then you might need to reconsider its place either on the menu, on the main menu, or in the game entirely. Because if you're never using it, and maybe if you're seeing nobody else use it, maybe you shouldn't be there.
Yeah, exactly, and maybe it's the it will be good place for another thing. I mean, for the thing that you not even consider yet.
Mm.
So yeah, that place can have potential for something else,
Yeah,
because because the place in the game is uh, I lost the word. You have not. You have. Oh, sorry.
are you trying to say you have basically limited
Yes,
space real estate?
exactly. Thank you. It's like you're in my mind. Yeah, limited space in the game. Yeah, and if you're considering what elements to put, yeah, if you're not using that button in the menu, then throw it away and put there something that you really really need.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, on all form factors, you do have a limited amount of space, but especially on mobile, on like if we just continue the example of the main menu, how many options can you have in there? New game, load game, or continue, settings. Mobile usually doesn't have a quit option, maybe a volume button, but maybe that's in the settings.
Yeah.
That is pretty much it. So you can have probably between 3 to 5 different options. Like, like new game is going to be one of them. So can't really get rid of that. Continue possibly is going, or maybe you could bundle them into play, and then on the separate screen have whether you're doing new game or if you're continuing and loading a game. So you could just do play, but then you probably have settings. So about half of the option like available, you know, real estate space is already used by just general gaming design standards. So you have to be very careful with what you put in there, because yes, you probably be good if you do put something there because it's valuable real estate, but put something that the user probably is gonna want to have a look at.
Yeah, and that sentence that less is more, I think it's really fitting in that concept of game design, because you really need to think how to put less in game design.
Oh yeah, 100%. The amount of times I played a game and I just look at the screen and I just think this is gonna take so long just for me to figure out what every option does. Then on top of that, for me to figure out which one of those options are actually important for me to use, often. And sometimes, if it's not something I'm really invested in, I'll just go away from it. And, like, that's the other thing. It's not just about giving your users a good experience; it's about retention. If you don't provide a, a good in like, there'll be a minimum user experience required to keep the user. Obviously, anything above that is to make the user happy, or happier and more fulfilled whilst they play the game. But the level where if you go below that, they're just going to go away. And
Yeah.
that's the last thing you want, because it's very
Yeah.
hard to get somebody to download your game. It's even harder to get them to stay.
Yes, exactly. And I think that because I'm 100% in that kind of thinking, and I think that also fits to the idea of the js13k games, because all the participants that take part in the competition are also um, forced to use the minimum.
Mm, they are, because obviously the size limitations, around JS13K. So I understand you can't, take part in JS13K game because your husband is the person who runs it. So it'll be unfair for you to take part. But
Yeah.
have you ever thought about taking part in another competition? And have you?
I mean, it also would be very difficult because I'm not the programmer,
Yeah.
so
But
I
how
would
about a
only.
competition where you can have a team, so you and
Yeah.
Anjay could do it?
Yeah, yeah. Actually, we were taking part in Global Game Jam many years in a row. So yeah, I really liked that. I think, it was our very beginnings in that game jam, and we had so much fun. Uh, and as I can remember, we also mm, have those different experience, because sometimes we didn't finish our game in the game jam, sometimes we did. That's how we uh, could find out what's important in game jams, because when you focus on too many things, then there is this uh, you cannot finish the project. So that's where we find out what's important in game jam, in game design, in the whole game project.
Oh yeah, 100, percent. So you and Anjay, you've got, is it one child or two children?
One kid, yeah.
Well, one child. So as a graphic designer and Anjay as a programmer, have you ever made games specifically for your child?
Yes, yes, we have that one project. It called Forest Cuties. It started with my graphics for her because um, on the side I'm running the Mama Designer PL project, that is blog with the graphics for kids. It started when my daughter was born, and I came to idea that, oh, it will be nice to put some graphics to her room. And I started to do that. I started to put that on the blog so other people could download it them. And I prepared a collection of cute forest animals. And when Andrzej saw that, he thought, oh, it will be nice to put it in game. And one of the most mm, favorite mechanics of games that our kid liked was the memory game. Where you play with cards, with pair of cards, and you're looking for those pair that are matching. And yeah, we did prepare the Forest Cuties game, memory game for her, and we published it also. I think it's you can play it on Enclave Games.com. And yeah, yeah. So we were prepared the project, and I hope it's not the last one.
Okay, that's nice. And uh, y- what sort of games do you recommend? If the parents listening, to this episode, what sort of games do you recommend that they introduce their children to? Because obviously some parents are concerned about you know their kids being exposed to video games or certain games, especially violent games. But there are a lot of more fun and casual and almost and educational ones as well. So, what are some of your top picks for introducing kids to games?
Yeah, for sure. I would first check the age of the kid because it's really important. I think in when we talk about small kids, it's even the difference between 4 year old, 5 year old. It's huge. So you will introduce other kind of games to the 4 year old, and other for 5 or 6 or even older. So the first thing is the age, and you need to check the marks on games when you looking for games for kids. You always have to check the marks that they are the Peggy signs, that they are okay to the age of the kid. And then the other thing that I am always doing is playing by myself first, because sometimes the verification, I believe that verification is made very good, but sometimes the kid is not prepared to see stuff from the game. If there is I don't know, for example, kind of animal that your kid doesn't like, then you will not show it to your kid. So you have to check the game by yourself first, then you can show it to your kid. And if I would be specific, uh, my kid loves Toka Boca Life. It's actually a very well designed game where you can play kind of dolls, and you can create your own um, scenario for those dolls. You can just put them from place to place, and that's pretty much it. But in the kids world, the stuff that they can do with that is it's amazing. I mean, they can play hours just putting the doll from place to place because they are kids and they have imaginary.
Oh yeah, and sometimes those simple tasks they just can repeat again and again and again the sort of thing that
Yeah, and
makes them
it's
adults.
actually it's very important in games that are addressed to kids, that they are not having this too much action.
Oh yeah, like it can be a bit overwhelming or a bit too
Yeah.
exciting sometimes as well. Gets
Yes,
a bit too
exactly. Those calm games are
hyper.
very good to kids, especially those that are younger.
So, what's your opinion on giving mobile devices, tablets, more specifically to young children? Because, tablets 15, 16 years ago weren't really a thing, but since, the iPad and early Android devices, they've become very popular. And, some parents are heavily against giving their kids, a tablet or screen time, and some, because it's a way of distracting them for them to be able to maybe get on with the day and like do stuff like, so for example, just tidying the house or doing the dishes or taking a break.
Yeah.
So what's your opinion on screen time?
Yeah, perhaps it's not a very popular opinion because I'm pro, but it's not that simple. I really do understand why people are afraid of that kind of thing in the hands of children, because yeah, it's not the kind of toy that you can put left with your kid and just let them play. You have to keep the control what they are using it for, and also that control cannot be destroying all the play. And that's a very tough task to do, because you have to have control and not destroying the play. It's balance here, it's really difficult to have. um, but I think that tablets, telephones, smartphones, computers, they are just in the future, in those kids future. So I think we can't forbid that kind of stuff to them, because they're gonna use it anyway. um, but it's our responsibility to introduce them to this world in a smart way. So show them the possibilities of it, show them that they are only tools, and most important, show them the world outside as much attractive as tablets are.
Oh yeah, like I think it's important showing them that there's advantages, and then there's also aspects to enjoy from screen time inside especially, but then going outside as well. But it's also important to not almost put it as a kind of a chore or as a punishment of we have to go outside. It should be like, we get to go outside. Oh, it's sunny, it's not raining, we can go outside now, we can play and do things outside. Or if it's raining, we can sit inside and we can maybe, because one thing I'm looking forward when my kids get older, I've got two kids, is being able to play video games with them, and especially games like Mario and Mario
Yeah,
Kart, and I'd say a lot of other racing and adventure games. And I think it'd be great to be able to say, let's play a co-op game together. Let's play some old, classic game together. Something like that, to have a bonding experience. So that way you get to have fun, but your kid is also very happy, and they get to have fun as well. But I think you made a really good point, and it resonates with how I think about it as well. Is, don't ban the actual form factor, which is, let's say, a tablet. Control the actual content. So, if your kid wanted to read a book, you wouldn't ban them from reading a book. But if all they was reading was, you know, magazines about fashion, or let's say magazines about gossip, for example, gossip magazines, you would probably say that's a bit too much of that. But if they wanted to read biographies and maybe some fiction and also business books and motivational, but stuff that's positive. I don't think you would say you're reading too much. You'd be like, that's good. So I think it is very important to identify what are they consuming, and act accordingly, instead of say, oh, all screen time is bad, or all screen time is good.
Yeah, exactly. I am agreeing with you, because when you say screen time, it also contains for example, a video conversation with your family, or searching for, when you have kids in the school, searching for some school stuff. Um, so yeah. You can't say that all the screen time is bad, but also how I think they are working on some. Uh, I forget the word when scientists are searching for answers. Is um,
Researching.
Yes, thank you very much. There are some research that shows that the balance between screen time and the time outside is the most important here. So when you keep that balance, everything's fine. Everything should be fine.
Oh yeah, and I feel like the kids that have too many problems with screen times, in terms of it, like they're basically hooked to it, are the ones that haven't had the balance from a young age, and that's more on the parents, where they haven't been exposed to going out. Because my daughter, she's only 20, she's coming up to 22 months, so just shy of 2 years. She loves any screen time she can get, whether it's a tablet, whether it's TV. She's always we always have the TV on with some of her educational cartoons. But if I say to her, "Let's put your jacket on and take you outside," she jumps at that. Like she wants to go outside,
Mm.
because she's been exposed to it and she enjoys it. Like she brings the shoes herself. Like she'll probably bring it in a few hours, and it'll be like 10 p.m. at night time, and be like, okay, it's too late now. But like she'll want to go out. But again, it's that exposure from a young age that she's like, okay, I enjoy it. It's something alternative. This is, nice. And I think that's a huge problem, is a lot of kids, because they don't have the fun exposure of going for a walk, maybe going out to play, that by the time they're hooked, they're probably, I don't know, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. They don't want to go outside. They just want to be inside. And then they have other, behavior behavior problems associated with that. It's not something that I think happens overnight. It takes a bit of time, and it is definitely on the parents to, like I said, get that balance.
Yeah, yeah. Uh, what you say is, yeah. The most important thing here is that from the very beginning, when kids are seeing the fun, because games are giving a lot of fun. So when we show them that outside world is having as much fun as the games, uh, then they will not feel that they are missing something here. That the adventures outside can be fascinating for them, and they will choose those. And it's, yeah, it's, I think it's very important to do this at the very beginning, but also we have to remember that um, kids always will choose the fun. And it's not only kids, I think uh, people in general, uh, if they can choose, they will choose something that is more fun to them. So I don't want to say we have to control, but we have to um, be on the same page with our kids, what gives them fun. So when teenager is searching for something in games, we we need to know as a parent what he or she is looking for. So we need to know our kids, and the boundaries you were talking about when you were playing with your kids. Um, it also can be happening when you have teenagers. You can play with them. I don't know if they would do that as you know uh, if they would love that. The kids, teenagers would love to play with their parents, but yeah, if we're interested in our kids lives and things that they interested in, uh, then the boundaries are made. So that's the balance. uh, the problem here is not the games. The problem here is to know our kids.
Oh yeah, and it definitely when, you know, if you're talking about you interacting with the kids, you playing with the kids, whether that's video games, whether that's outside going to the park, whatever it is, playing with your kids. It, pretty much every kid will want to play with their parents, but if they don't get enough of it, enough opportunities, and it's always turned down of parents saying they're too busy or they don't want to play. Sometimes I see this in parents where they find the activity that the kid likes boring and they don't enjoy, so they don't want to do it. And I think that's a real shame as well. That's one thing that I really like that I by myself that I like video games is that when my kids are a bit older and they can play, them wanting to play video games is not going to be a chore for me or difficult for me as it is some other parents. It's going to be something that I'm going to really, enjoy. But yeah, but going back to my, the point I was making, it gets to a point where a kid will just stop asking, like their parent. Because I remember, growing up, like, constantly asking, like my dad, play this or play that. But it gets to a point where if you keep getting the answer of no, it's just like one, you know what the answer is going to be, so you eventually stop asking, and
Yeah.
two, you don't want that rejection. So, it, a lot of things it's take time, good or bad, and especially the habits to develop, and the situations to form. So you have to understand that and realize that if it's got to that point, you as a parent are probably partly to blame, even though it sounds a bit harsh, but it's just the way it is.
Yeah, 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 exactly. I am 100% agree with that, because it's the parents, um they need to understand. I mean, we we need to understand that games are going to be in our kids' lives, even if they're not going to play, but they are in the games are the part of the world, so it's going to be in our kids' future. And if we're saying, oh, all games are bad and my kids are they are losing time because of the games, then the real question is here: what I did, um, so my kids wouldn't play so much. Did I spend the time with them when they needed? Because they choose fun over those hard things, and it's understandable. So yes, when we as a parents uh, would discover how to use games in a good way, how to develop with by using games, develop the skills in our kids, mm, then we can say that games are good. They are not destroying our kids. But we have to be aware um, how to use them, mm, and that the fun is also uh, the part of the life, and the most important thing is to keep the balance.
Oh yeah, 100%. Having that balance is, I think balance in general is very important and also very key. One thing wanted to ask is whilst running JS13K games with your husband, you've been doing it for, is it 30, is it 13 years next year?
Yeah, this year edition will be 13.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. This year, sorry, it's 2024 because when I recorded with Andre, it was
Yes,
last year technically.
yes,
So,
exactly.
so, so then we were saying next year. So yeah, yeah, actually this year. So yeah, it'd be 13 years this year. So over a decade, and having met a lot of great developers, having loads of obviously winners as well. The wealth of knowledge you have in graphic design, the knowledge that Ange has in programming and all of that combined. Have you ever thought about doing something in the educational space, together, and maybe in conjunction with JS13K, especially with the winners, maybe them talk, like creating courses or videos talking about how to make games, because obviously the winners have amazing games, like for
Yeah.
for the time limit and for the form factor of 13 kilobytes. Have you ever thought about something in the educational space like that, really going deep into it?
Oh my, that would be a dream come true. I mean, yeah, I think we both were thinking about this kind of stuff, but uh, you know, uh, I really would like to try with the educational path. That's I think my dream from the very beginning. But yeah. I think the decision, first of all, the decision is not mine. So I'm not the one who can tell you the answer. But I can tell you that yeah, we were talking about that and we were thinking about that, and if it ever gonna happen, I can only say that I wish.
Yeah, I think it would be fantastic because there's a lot of value in any field when you have experience, and obviously the experience that you and Anjay have, and then like I was saying, all the exposure to all these games, all the exposure to all these developers. I think that's a huge advantage of what you have. Like, you have a relationship with these developers. I mean, it's not just the winners, the runners up, or I mean, obviously in every year I'm sure there'll be games that are bad, obviously, but even if they don't win, there'll be several games that are really close, and they'll have great developers, and great stories to tell, and great tips and tricks. I think that would just be an amazing platform. I think it'd be great if you guys made a YouTube channel, or actually maybe you've already got one, but specifically publishing educational content. Obviously you doing, showing how to do graphic design, and then like some of the stuff we've discussed, what makes good design, for example, good examples. Then obviously Andre doing the programming side, then getting winners on the pot, on the YouTube channel, and plus there's exposure for them as well. As the YouTube channel grows, they talk about their game, why they chose the technologies they chose, why they chose the design and the game ideas they chose, how they executed it, the problems that occurred. Then maybe if they're interested in doing like a mini few like series of making something from scratch, I think there'll be a lot of value in that. I think you and Anjay are in a really unique position, equipped to be able to go ahead with that. So I think that's something I would love to see you and Anjay do.
Yeah, that's really awesome to hear, and that would be awesome to do. And as you said, year after year, we had so many of great games. I'm always amazed how people do that kind of stuff, how they put such an amazing games in 13 kilobytes, and I'm always amused. And yeah, as I know, there are a lot of post-mortem articles every year. Andre
Mm.
is asking people to do that, but putting all this stuff in one place and throw it as an educational platform would be amazing thing. And I really wish that this would happen.
Yeah, I think it'd be amazing, and I think it's definitely so. I mean, it's definitely something I would love to discuss with you and Andre because I think it'd be great for the community. Because, like I said, it's you're in a position where you have access to all these developers, and many of which will gladly do it. That most people just don't. Like the average person could, contact because you had over 100 um developers enter this year. I mean, last year, did you over 100? Was it?
Yeah, for sure. I'm not sure with numbers, but I'm pretty sure that it was even more than 200.
Or was it? Yeah, so you have access to so many developers on a regular basis, and also another great thing is last year or like the most. I'm not gonna say last year because that makes it sound like the previous competition. Like the most recent winner, uh, he had end because I've had him on the podcast as well. Previously, and after he won, after I had Ange on. He said he had entered other competitions as well of the JS13K in previous years, so having him, be able to talk about his journey from not winning for multiple years to winning, what did he do? Was there specific things he focused on learning or putting in the game or not putting in the game? How did he grow as a person? Because I think that's amazing as well that you've got people, and I'm sure it's not just, him. I'm sure you've got multiple people that have entered multiple different years, and that's huge value to see that sort of arc of somebody.
Yeah, I also can think about some other people that have amazing stories, how they find the jobs after JS13K games, how they, yeah, exactly, how they developed, and also sometimes when they showing the process of building their game is also amazing, how they talk about it, because one thing that you can say for sure, those people that are taking part in JS13K games are passionate about games, and they are awesome in talking about games, and they are amazing people.
Oh yeah, I mean this is just another thing that I thought of. That would be great. Let's say on the YouTube channel or the platform is career interviews. You said that people have got jobs after JS13K, having exposure, having, the experience and something that they've shown, off, to the world and to, potential employers, you know, interviews with those people and then, and in general interviews with the developers and, what they're working on. I think that's, a great thing, especially, if you have someone 5 years ago and you have them on again, like, where they are in, 5 years later, what are they working on? And I bet you there's some people that started a game 5, 10 years ago that's still working on that game, still trying to refine that one, passion project. And yeah, I think it'd be an amazing, thing that you and Andre could do with the educational space. And obviously yourself could do a bit like outside of the JS13K, focus a bit on the, you know, kids and the kids, video game side of things. 'Cause I know you're passionate about that as well.
Yeah, yeah, I would really love that gonna happen. And also, my really big dream would be when if we create a category in JS13K games with the games that are prepared for kids. So they are created with the kids in mind.
Yeah, I think that'd be, I think that'd be fantastic. Either, as one of the themes of one of the years, or as a separate sort of competition as well. Creating games specifically for kids, because there's a lot of games out there that are you know first person shooters, or shooters in general, a bit more adulty, more complex. Even if it's not violent, it might just be a bit too complex for a kid as well, because it's not just suitability in terms of violence, or like that's the obvious one that people talk about when they talk about suitability, but it could be suitability of just accessibility. A 5-year-old is not going to be able to process a game the way a 15-year-old that's been playing for 10 years can. So having something, for the developers in the competition to think about, not just, okay, I've got to create a game that's kid friendly from you know the perspective of it can't be too violent, can't have too much, have any sex, drug, or references or anything like that. But it needs to be playable easily for a child, for like a 6, 7-year old, because they can't be have too many options, and on top of that, you can't have too many sort of references, even indirectly, to other games and game genres that you would just expect people to have played, whereas a kid may not have played it yet. So it needs to be a bit more dumbed down. So I think that would be a very interesting, you know, lesson on design for the developers.
Yeah, and that's exactly what we were talking about at the very beginning, that minimalism in the game design, and that would be perfect category for to practice the good patterns of design, and how to design in the way that is readable even for 4-year-old.
Exactly, having it the having it accessible in the for most people, especially a young child, as well. You'll definitely be, something that they won't be used to, and I think that'll be an interesting challenge for them.
Yeah.
So after seeing all these developers, probably over 1,000, I'm guessing, over the years that enter the competition, what are the, you know, common either traits of the developer or the games that you see that make up the winners? There must be stuff that you've seen that you think, okay, it keeps consistently appearing.
Could you please rephrase that, because I'm not sure if I understand it.
Okay, so what I'm asking is, you've obviously had like a lot of developers on the on the podcast, on in the competition over the
Yeah.
years, over like the last 13 or so years. Is there anything common that you see in the developers or their games, in the winners more specifically, that you think, okay,
Oh,
you keep seeing it, and there's probably something in that makes a winning developer or a winning game?
yes, yes. I think mm, that thing that is kind of magic. uh, you can say when the developer is really polishing the game. uh, if the game is not rough, if the game is polished, having this inconsistent, and having this every detail is mm, very well thought, that you can feel it, and those are those games that are winning. Those polished games, those games that are made with love. I would say that.
The games that are made with love, and like you said, there's a lot of refinement and polish to those games. So that's pretty much it in terms of questions that I have. Actually, one more question that I have before we get on to like a fun round of rapid fire questions that I always do at the end of all my podcasts. And that's, as a graphic designer, what advice would you give to somebody that's starting out, looking to get into the industry and to develop artwork for games and in the gaming industry, what advice, tips, and tricks would you give to them?
Oh, I would say the one thing that I heard at the very beginning of my career from the older graphic designer with the more experience than me. And he said, I remember that very clear. If you want to do the games, just do the games.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard that a lot, multiple times, and I've said that multiple times as well. You know, if you want to make something, just begin. Like there's so many times that you can just overthink it. Paralysis by analysis. Is another way of saying it, and you just never you begin. You just think, oh, I don't have enough information or enough skills or enough resources. The timing isn't right. Like you have a million excuses, but like I said, just begin, and then you'll start. It's difficult to see the way without actually stepping, on your journey, and then you start seeing a little bit clearer, a little clearer, and then you think, okay, I need to learn this. I need to improve on this aspect. It might take a bit of time, but whereas if you never start, you'll never finish.
Yeah, and you never find out if it's your way, and how to go farther. And even if this sentence is not mine, but I love it, and I use it in conversation with my kid, and I'm constantly using it. Uh, Everything is hard until it's uh, gonna be easy. So yeah, you have to try, you have to practice. Then after you do mm, the first steps, then you can say it's too hard. But if you're not letting yourself to try, then you will not know.
Oh yeah, you definitely need to begin, give it a go. I think you owe it to yourself. So yeah, I think that's definitely some great advice. I think that's probably some of the best advice, in general, is begin, have a go, and then even if you fail, learn from that failure, and you really haven't truly failed until you actually decide to stop and give up. Then you've failed. But if you learn from it and improve slowly, just iterate, then you are slowly succeeding.
Yeah.
So like I said, we're doing a rapid fire round of fun questions. Are you ready for that?
Could you please tell me again what we're gonna do?
So it's the last few questions are always a slightly fun topic questions, and it's just like a quick fire round.
Okay, I will try. Okay, yeah, I'm ready.
Okay, so the first question is: would you rather have? I'll use American dollars as the reference point. Would you rather have $500,000 a year for the rest of your life, or 5 million upfront, and why?
Um, could you explain me that, please?
Okay, so what I'm asking is, if you was given the option to have either $500,000 every year for the rest of
Okay,
your life, or
yeah,
you can have 5 million in one payment, and then you don't get any more, from this
okay,
person, which one would you choose?
okay. um, wow, I never thought about that, but I think I would choose the first option, so the payment every year. Um, and why? Because it creates me some kind of mm, safety feeling that mm, that I have money covered, and I could do the stuff for funny stuff for a long, long time.
Okay, I mean, makes sense because you'll have the consistency of the income. So next question is a three-parter. What's your favorite movie, video game, and board game?
My favorite movie. Oh my god. I think my favorite movie is Extraction. Uh, I don't know why. It's really amazing cinematographic. The pictures are amazing, and it's full of action. My favorite game would be Tetris. I love that game because it was with me at the very beginning of my life. I think that was the first game I was playing, and a board game. I would say mm, we have this game we bought for our kid. It with snails. It calls. I think it calls Snail Run, something like this. Um, when you actually uh, try not to win.
Okay, you try not to in Snail Run. Sounds. Hmm. I haven't heard of that one, but I'll Google it.
I'm thinking if it's Polish game, it's really possible that it's Polish game. We for sure we have it in Polish version, so I'm not sure uh, even if I translate correctly the name of it. Um,
Is it called Snail Sprint? Or Snail
maybe
Race?
maybe Snail Sprint. I don't really know.
Yeah, because I just googled it. There's a few that come up with that name that kind of looks like. Is it like literal physical snail pieces and it's like a grid?
Yeah, I think yeah.
Yeah, Snail's Pace Race or Snail's Race.
Okay.
Okay, I mean, I'll have a look at that and see how that works. I'll watch some YouTube videos. I think that'll be interesting. How old is your kid?
She's 8. Oh my god.
At what age did you start, playing? Like, what age was she able to really play games and
uh,
board games?
Board games for sure when she was really little. I even remember that I was when she was 2. I was preparing memory games for her. I was doing the graphics and cutting out the cards and giving those to her. So board games were for sure with her from very young age. And I can't can't remember when we gave her uh, the smartphone with the game so she could play by herself. But I'm sure that even if she were 2, she was able to watch us playing mobile games. So I think it was earlier than average kid.
Okay, yeah. Plus, I guess it's the exposure and the fact that you and Anjay are heavily into that world of gaming and entertainment that she's exposed to it, so she, you know, becomes used to it effectively.
Yeah, exactly. That's what happened here. And yeah, she knows that this is our job. She knows that we're trying to tell her that other kids are not having these privileges um, with mobile and with mobile games. So um, so she would be aware that she's in another position here.
Oh yeah, she's like in a very privileged position, and that's something I want to you know make sure my kids are aware that as well. Like they're very lucky to have the toys they do, and the life they have, and like to live in a country that's not war torn, and there's a lot of things to be thankful for, and it's very easy, as you're growing up, and even as adults, that you get just busy with life, that you forget that, and you just think that small things are the end of the world when they're really not. So, what game are you looking forward to? Did you still actively play video games outside of games with your daughter?
Um, yes, but only those small games that are actually not having continued. Mm, but mm, I don't know. When I was a teenager, I was playing Sims, so I would love to play Sims again. And I heard that they were updated very well. Now it's I think Sims 5 technology, and I would love to play that game with my daughter also. So maybe in the near future.
Okay, yeah. There's always new Sims, DLC or updates, or
Yeah.
new games coming
Yeah.
out. It's
And maybe not with my daughter, not yet, but I was also on study. I was also very much into GTA. I don't know how to say it in English. GTD. I don't know.
yeah.
Grand Theft Auto.
Yes, Grand Theft Auto
Yes.
GTA. Yeah.
Yeah. So I hope that Andrzej also will want to play that, and yeah, I could be able. I would be able to play it too.
Oh yeah. Like, are you looking forward to the new Grand Theft Auto coming out
Yeah,
in
yeah. I
next
mean,
year?
I hope we will have that game. I mean, I'm always, I'm always watching that Andrzej is into invest in the games, and then I could play because he bought the games. So I'm like a person that taking advantages because he likes the game.
Oh yeah, I think that helps when you both have, similar interests. Because me and my wife love video games as well, and because I buy most games, major games that come out, like she's always excited because the games that she's looking forward to, like Assassin's Creed, she loves Assassin's Creed.
Oh yeah.
I'm not as much of a fan as her, but I'm still a fan. But I'll buy it, and she'll play. She loves it as well. So there's definitely an element to that where she just enjoys the fact that we have all the latest consoles and we've got the latest games because I'm into it, and she can enjoy it as well.
Yeah, I think that's the same situation in our home.
So, final question. It's a two-parter. Does money buy you happiness, and why? And what does a good life mean to you?
Um, I would like to say no, they not, because yeah, there are really more important things in life than money. But I would like to think. I mean, I really like the idea that I have money, and there are enough of them that I can have a normal life, don't be aware about the bills, don't be aware about the stuff to my kid. And if I have that much money, then I can find out the happiness in other things. So if I have those um, daily routine covered, then I can find the adventure in my life. And I think the adventure and uh, the opportunity to feel things are making us happy.
Oh yeah, that makes total sense. Like having money does help with the freedom. Being able to pursue what you want in life, being able to enjoy certain things that you otherwise might not be able to. So that's it for all the questions for today's episode of FireDEV. E- Ava, I just want to thank you for coming on to the podcast today. It was a pleasure having you on and hearing about the work that you do at JS13K, graphic design, and just, overall advice for people looking to get into the industry as well. So, Ava, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. It was really nice to talk with you.
And I just want to thank everyone for listening to this week's episode of FireDev. And I'll see everyone in the next episode. Bye bye.